Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Erin from Deluxe is not able to join us, so I will be introducing Sheryl. Sheryl is a video coach, virtual video producer, and former Canadian TV broadcaster. She has been seen by millions over the course of her 25-year career in news media, has produced thousands of videos, and has broadcast over 20,000 hours of live television. Sheryl lives and works in Ontario, Canada. Please welcome Sheryl.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Excited to be here. I'm really looking forward to helping you today to learn more about video and how you can present yourself professionally and polished on camera. And my take on this might be a little bit different than what you might be accustomed to, or maybe what you're expecting today. So I know that we're on the Zoom. I know that we're doing this in a webinar format. So as such, I cannot see you on the screen, but I do want you to know that I am carving out time here for you today for Q&A. I think that you're going to find through this presentation, I am not a person who's going to do death by PowerPoint. I have a few slides that I want to share with you today, just to prove more of a point and kind of make my point on a few ideas and theories that are really going to help you to leverage video today. So a little bit of background. Thank you, Melissa, for that introduction. I appreciate that. I am a former national TV broadcaster. So I spent 25 years on TV, and 17 of them I spent at the Weather Network, which I don't know how many of you have watched the Weather Network, but we're obsessed with weather here in Canada. So maybe you have seen me over the course of those 17 years. Maybe a possibility. And if so, that's great. Some of you might even recognize me from social media. I just yesterday reached my first 1 millionth view on a video yesterday on my YouTube channel. So we're celebrating a few little milestones here on this side. I say that because I want to be able to tell you, I have a lot of experience in this area, especially in news media, and now with social media, YouTube, and a variety of other platforms. So I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you may have about video and how you can leverage this platform to your benefit. I am coming to this conversation today through the lens of business, through the lens of entrepreneurship, and I know that many of you are, probably in that range of anywhere from like, say, 28 to 45-ish range. And so I really want you to embrace video now more than ever. Listen, the world has changed. There's no doubt about that. And even before COVID, video was something that I was talking about and saying, hey, listen, you have to be using video. Video is no longer a nice to have. But now that is tenfold. It is not a choice anymore. Video does need to be a part of the overall marketing strategy for businesses that want to succeed. Why is that? The reason why is because we live in a very different economy. And the economy that we live in now is the attention economy, right? We are all vying for attention. And we do that in a variety of different ways. The old school way of doing that was to go out and do, networking. And that still works. I mean, in the normal times, it works. And there's nothing wrong with that. Continue to do that if it works for you. Get out in front of people and go to meetings, to chamber meetings, and that all works. It's great. Keep doing that. But the thing is that now most of the world is living online. So you can't only rely, in my opinion, on the offline marketing and the traditional ways of marketing, because things have changed. So we live now online, and in the attention economy, the currency that's used there, the trading and the currency that we use is content. So I want you to really think about that and ask yourself right now, am I using content? Am I creating content? There are 3 different kinds of content. You have audio, video, and text. So I happen to specialize in the video format, but I love audio. I'm on Clubhouse. I love podcasts. I listen to them and I have my own. So, text, I write. I don't write a lot of articles, but I will write captions and short form type materials to support some of the videos that I'm sharing. I just happen to specialize in the video portion. The thing I love about video is that it is the closest thing we have to being there in person with someone, which is this this meeting today is a prime example of that. I couldn't be there in person with you at, to conduct this training today. So the next best thing is to do it on video. It's to do it here using Zoom, for example. So all of that to say that video is no longer a nice to have. You really do need to be utilizing it in some capacity in your overall marketing strategy. And I look at this through the lens of authority marketing. So most of the people that I work with are coaches, consultants, solopreneurs, small business owners, sometimes medium-sized business owners, people who are packaging their expertise into products and services of their own. They're often information marketers, people in the e-learning space, which is a huge billions of dollars of industry. But I think that when you are looking to grow in that capacity, the thing that helps you do that the most efficient in the most efficient way is to be positioned as an authority. It's to be positioned as a resource, right? Someone that people can rely on for the latest and greatest cutting edge tools and tactics and techniques and strategies. It's being positioned as a leader. It's being positioned as a resource, as a leader, as an expert, as an authority in your own industry or niche. And so everything that we do in my company is around that, whether that be through coaching and training, or whether that be through virtual video production, which we specialize in as well. We specialize in creating videos from interviews, like using Zoom, for example. We interview people and can make videos for them from that interview. So today we're going to talk about looking polished and looking professional on video, some of my best on-camera strategies, but that's just scratching the surface of it. And really that is the superficiality of what, a lot of people are interested in. They're like, well, what should I do with my hair? And what should I do with my makeup? And what do I wear? And all of that. And yes, I think you want to pay attention to that. But what's actually more important in terms of looking polished and professional, in my opinion, is what you say. It's what's actually coming out of your mouth. And that is speaking. What are you saying? What are you speaking about? And are you doing that in an authoritative way? I'm not saying that we want to ignore how it looks, but how it looks is actually not as important as what you say. People will look past things like backgrounds to a point. They'll look past the fact that my roots are not done. They'll look past that. I hope you will too. You'll look past the fact that I don't if I didn't have any makeup on today, let's say I put a little bit on for you, but the point being that it's not really about all that. Are you being of service to others? That's what matters. If you are bringing your A game and you're really being a service-minded person, a service-minded video authority, that's what matters to people, because people are dialed into a frequency, and the frequency is WIIFM, which is what's in it for me. They want to know what's in it for you. You want to know what's in it for you today. And what's in it for you is to learn some strategies that I'm going to share with you today that I hope if you implement them and you action them are actually going to give you momentum and move you forward. Which brings me to our first call to action that I really want to get out of the way today. My whole goal with this presentation today is that by the end of this, I want you to feel empowered and positioned to send a video text message to someone in your network who you should be following up with. In fact, I'm going to give you just a few seconds to think about that. Who is that person? And I think I can also check the chat here. So type in the chat. I think I can see the answers when you post them in the chat. So think about someone that you need to follow up with, someone in your network. And listen, I'll say even personally or professionally. If it's professionally, that might be a little bit better. But if you're lacking a person that you can think of professionally right now that you need to follow up with, it could be a personal contact as well. So type in the chat, who that person is. I'm not seeing anything in the chat, so just let me make sure that I'm going in here. Melissa, are you able to come on for just a moment? I just want to make sure that I'm seeing things properly.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. Yeah, I see it now.
Did you just see a chat come through?
I did. Yes, I see Alan. Yes. Okay. So we have 10 people on, so I'd like to see 10 answers. Everyone post the name of a person who you are going to text message a video to later today. Christian says, my referral sources that I have lost touch with. Okay, who is that one specific person, Christian? Think of one person if you can. I'll give you a minute to think about this. So this is what I want you to do today. Today, I want you to, I'm seeing Lori, Mike, okay, cool. Sending a text video message. This is often, listen, we all send text messages. I send text messages all the time, but whether you're using an SMS text service, or iMessage, or you're using even Facebook Messenger or something like that, even LinkedIn. I think you can even do video on LinkedIn. What happens a lot of times with text message, they're text messages, right? Makes sense. But often we forget that there's sometimes a video functionality there. And it's a great way to stand out because not everyone is doing it. And it's a great way to build that personal connection with someone. So I'm seeing Jessica. Okay, great. Penny, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on, but I want you to think about who that person is. And as you think about who that person is that you're going to commit to texting a video to later, type it in the chat, okay? So the reason why I love this strategy is because it helps you stand out. Not as many people are doing it. And part of the challenge that we all face in the attention economy is to be seen and to have people pay attention to us. We often hear that rise above the noise. We hear that a lot on social media. How do I rise above the noise? Well, it's by I think creating content that's valuable to people, that's being of service to people. I really am railing against these promotional videos. It's not to say that there's not a time and a place where you can't put out a promotional video, but what I see more often than not are people who that's all they're doing. All they're doing is putting out content. Yeah, they're putting out content. They're on the social media hamster wheel and they're putting out the content all the time. And they question, well, how come my business isn't growing? And then when you go back and you take a look, you realize that, 90 to 100% of the content that they've posted have been promotional in nature, are selling something. The problem with that is that social media is not selling media. Social media is social, and we use it in the wrong way. Social media is really just the place to open the door, to open up a conversation, to build relationships, and it's not necessarily to be used directly for selling. I'm not saying you can't sell, and I'm talking about this from an organic perspective, not from an advertising perspective today. In advertising, it's a completely different thing, but from organic, meaning free, social media should be used for social, to build relationships, to add value, to provide content that's really going to help people. And from there, what you're doing is just opening up the door to a conversation or potential of a conversation with someone. And it often does go down in the DMs. It often is, the business is happening, the relationships are being built privately in most cases. It can start in the comments, it can start in the interaction and engagement on that video. But you as the entrepreneur want to, just like you would in a normal conversation when you're having a chat with someone in person, at some point at the after 5, when you're chit-chatting and socializing with people, you're going to say to that person, hey, listen, we should set up a call sometime and discuss this. Yeah, okay, let's exchange cards. Okay, cool. Right. And then you take that conversation offline. It's the same thing with online. I think sometimes we forget that that's the case. So I would really love for you to send a video text message, and I can answer questions about this when we get to the Q&A portion of today's talk, but that's what I have set out for you today. And my goal for you is to really help you to do this. One of the things we specialize in our company is to help people live stream and to go live and cash in on camera. And this is going to be a little version of that for you today. So let me share with you, well, I'm going to share my screen. Let me just close the chat out for a moment. I have a couple of little screens here that I want to share with you. And let's start with the fundamentals, shall we? I just want to look. Beth says my prospects. Okay. Great. Thanks, Beth. That's awesome. I see some of you posting in Q&A, which is great. And then some of you posted in the chat. So we'll be able to go over both of those later. All right. So let me just bring this up. So one of the things that I share, and one of the things I'm going to show you today is this concept of what I call the ACE model. And the ACE model is A, authenticity, C, content, and E, exposure. My belief is that you need all three of these in order to really be successful in generating leads, getting clients, and making sales with video, right? If you're missing any one of these three components, it becomes challenging, if not impossible, in the world that we live in today. So with authenticity, what I'm talking about here is speaking in your own voice instead of parroting what you see other people doing, instead of pretending to be someone that you're not, being yourself. And I know that sounds cliche. You're like, I know, Sheryl, I've heard this a million times before. Be yourself. It's true. You do need to be yourself. Let me use myself as an example today. I'm here sharing these ideas with you, and I'm not doing this in the voice of anyone else but me. This is how I talk. This is how I present myself when I'm talking to anyone in the same off air as I am on air. And that is something that I prided myself on when I was a TV broadcaster. People would come in on tours of the station, and they would see us running to the key wall and doing our presentation, you know, for 6 minutes live in front of hundreds of thousands of people without a script. And people would, then we would come off and they'd go, wow, that's amazing. And then I would chit chat with them just the same way I had chit chatted with the person behind that lens, or the hundreds of thousands of people that I just spoke to moments prior to that. And people were amazed, and they were, and not just me, all of us presenters were very much like that. In fact, I would say that if you've ever met a broadcaster, maybe you've been on a tour of a TV station before, maybe you've had that experience where you were kind of surprised. We're like, wow, they're the same off air as they are on air. Yeah, I think that's what the magic is of it. If you can be yourself, if you can be the same off air as on air, you're going to win, because people connect with people. People want to connect with human beings. They're not connecting with robots or people that are pretending to be something they're not. So authenticity is really key. The content you create, as I was talking about before, has to be, in my opinion, valuable, no doubt. I do subscribe to the idea that the content be educational in nature, especially when you're first getting started and when you're in the early stages of building, let's say, your platform. If it's a YouTube channel, for example, and you're trying to get to your first 1,000 subscribers, you want to use keyword-based research. You do want to create content that is searchable, content that is valuable, and most of the time that is going to be educational in nature. So it does need to be that there has to be some value to it. And the third part is the exposure. I talk to a lot of people who, you know, they have gone so far as to maybe create a video on their phone or on their iPad, and then they don't publish it. They let it sit. They let it sort of sit on their phone. I have had so many people do that. Why? Because they're afraid to publish it for fear of what people will say. You know, what will my friends and family think about this? Maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. I have imposter syndrome. I don't belong here. What if I get it wrong? So many reasons, and most of it's psychological, that prevents people from putting it out there. So here's why all three of these pieces are important. When you are authentically you, speaking from your own voice, you're creating, you know, valuable content, but you're not publishing it, then you remain a best kept secret. Okay. If you are authentically yourself and you're putting it out there on social media, but the content is more promotional in nature, it's like, oh, I'm selling my things, please buy my stuff, then it's a long road to monetization because people don't respond to that. People are too savvy. They see right through it. If you are creating valuable content, you're putting it out there for people to consume, you're publishing it, but you're doing it from a voice other than your own. You're just imitating other people or parroting what other people do instead of being your own self, then viewers don't become fans and followers. So it's important to understand these three components. Like I said, I call it the ACE model, and you can start utilizing this today. So I'd love to know if you have questions about that, please post in the chat, or you can ask in the Q&A box as well. If you have questions about the ACE model, go ahead and put that in the Q&A or in the chat, and I'll be able to come back and address those a little bit later. So I'm going to give you a framework today that's going to help, I believe, help you with your videos, whether they be, maybe you're creating your own videos, you're recording your own video content, or you're going live, which in my opinion is the best and easiest way to get started is through live streaming. I'm going to give you a framework today. I call it the universal video script that's going to help you with a 3-step process that you can start using today. And I'm going to get to that in just a moment. First, though, I do want to address this idea of looking polished and looking professional on your videos. When I was a TV broadcaster, we were in multi-million-dollar studios and $50,000 cameras, and we had personal shoppers and a wardrobe allowance and all the MAC makeup you could ever want and need, and $400 haircuts every 2 months, and it was awesome. Wonderful perks, fantastic, loved it. Interesting thing though, even for me at some point in that industry, that started to kind of fade for me, and I was starting to feel this desire and need to get out of broadcasting in order to do what I'm doing today, despite all those perks. But nonetheless, the perks were there. And all of those perks were there because we had to adhere to a certain standard, a certain look on camera, because I was an employee of a multi-million-dollar network, and I was responsible to project an image for their brand building efforts. And that makes sense, doesn't it? If you're an employee of someone, they have the right to be able to dictate what kind of look and image you should have because you're representing them. And that's the world that I lived in for 17 years. I felt quite a bit of pressure to also, and this is going into a whole other tangent, but being a certain size, looking a certain way, and it was stressful at times. And that makes sense in that world. It makes sense that if I'm going to be an employee of someone who's out there representing that brand and whose responsibility is to communicate and build an audience and attract an audience and have them coming back over and over and over again, so that we as the network then can monetize that attention and that audience. It's exactly the same model that we have in entrepreneurship and in small business. We are the ones who are responsible though, because we are our own employee. And so the models are exactly the same. Create valuable content, build an audience, and monetize it. The same thing is true of what we're trying to do as business owners but now we're responsible and can pull the strings of what that look and that image is, as opposed to it being, in the case of broadcasting, that network could tell me what to do. In fact, even had to sign contracts that would say I would not change my hair without their consent, or change my hairstyle drastically without their consent. That's how much, how different it is. But in our world now with entrepreneurship and small business, it's the same model. But here's the good news from the standpoint of looking professional, looking polished, looking like you're 100% pulled together. You don't need to have thousands of dollars in clothing. You don't have to have a personal shopper or makeup or hair if you don't want to, because you pull the strings. And it isn't as much in our world here on the entrepreneurial side isn't as much about projecting an image of perfection as might be the case over here on the broadcasting side. On this side, it isn't really as much about that. It's more about how do we put our best foot forward and find that fine balance between putting our best foot forward and getting it done, as I just pointed out in the ACE model, making it happen, being authentically ourselves, creating that content and putting it out there. There's a fine balance between putting your best foot forward and not waiting for everything to be perfect before we do that. So I want to caution you that while I can speak to how to look professional and polished to a degree on camera, I'm more concerned about you actually getting out there and doing the content despite not having everything dialed in from a physical perspective, maybe, or maybe like your background sucks. Maybe you listen, I built my business entirely practically from the kitchen counter. It's funny. I don't think I have it here. Where is it? I think it's behind me. For the longest time, I used a shoebox to prop my computer up onto when I was doing all my videos. I don't think I have it here right now, but an Adidas shoebox. That was what I propped my computer up on for the first 5 years of my business. So you have to do, you want to not let that sense of perfectionism, get to you. And I think that's an important thing. I would love, Melissa, if you could put up the poll, because I would love to know, do you compare yourself to others? That we have a poll question prepared for you. Do you compare yourself to others? I'm going to put up that poll question, and I'd love for you to respond. Do you compare yourself to others online? I think I know where this is going to go. I have a feeling I know what the answer is going to be, but do you compare yourself to others online? I think there are 10 of you, right? So I'll wait until I see that all 10 of you have voted. I'm seeing a few no's, interesting, and some yeses. Okay, so 50% of you said yes, 25% said no, and 38 said sometimes. Okay, so really, 88% of you said yes to sometimes, that you compare yourself to others. That doesn't really surprise me because I've worked with hundreds of business owners, helping them to step into the spotlight, to create their stage, and to really become world-class speakers in their niche over the course of the last many years. And it's not really surprising to me that those numbers be what they are. So I am here to tell you that from a professionalism perspective, yes, you do want to find that there's a fine balance. You want to put your best foot forward, but don't let that perfectionist tendency or that tendency to compare yourself to others be the thing that holds you back from getting started. This is a great exercise that you can do. If you have someone that you follow on social media, and YouTube would be a really great and easy way to do this exercise. Let's say, for instance, I'm just looking at my bookshelf here, Gary Vaynerchuk or Marie Forleo, or any of these guru type people that you follow who are super successful. If you go to their YouTube channels and you look at their videos, go to the video tab and then scroll, rather filter it from oldest to newest, right? You want to filter it so that you see the oldest videos coming up first on the YouTube channel. You'd be surprised. People like Lewis Howes, Brendan Burchard. I don't know if those of you who are maybe into personal development, let's say, I don't even know, Tony Robbins or Dean Graziosi or any of these people. You can go and take a look at their channels and look at the oldest videos first. You might be surprised at what you see. It is probably less than perfect, but they got started. And that was what set them on the path to who they are today. It didn't happen overnight. It looks like it was an overnight success, but it was not. It was the course of getting in there and doing it at a point where they did not feel like they had the perfect background. They did it anyway. And that's the most important message, right? So I do want you to, we can get into Q&A. I can answer questions about on camera, clothing and hair and makeup and things like that, but that's just scratching the surface of it. I would prefer that you really put your best foot forward. Yeah, sure, you want to do a few things to make yourself look good for your own self as opposed to other people. Great, do that. But what I would prefer you to think about is, what are you saying? What value are you providing? How authentic are you? What kind of content are you creating? And are you getting that exposure? Are you putting it out there? Having said that, I do want to share with you and let's check on the Q&A. Okay, cool. I do want to share with you the universal video script. And there's 3 parts to the video script. Let me first say that when I say universal video script, I am doing air quotes. It's not really a script. I actually really don't believe in scripting these type of videos. I would prefer that you look at this as a framework. I call it script because that's what people relate to the most online. They really want a script. So I call it a video script, and then present them with this new concept of a script. And there are 3 parts to it. I'm going to share that with you today. If you have something you can take notes with, by all means. And if you want to just get a copy of it, I'll just put my email in the chat. Right? You can always email me at sherylplouffe@gmail.com. That's my personal email. And I can just send it to you, and you can save it on your computer, or you could, put it on your desktop or something like that if you wanted to have a quick reminder. So let me share with you what that looks like. Let me go here and bring it back to the top. And let me share my screen. All right. So the universal video script is a 3-parter. And the first part is to engage. And I like alliteration. So you'll notice as we go through this script that I'm using E words to make it easy for you to remember. The engage section is the very, very first part of the video. And this can be applied to either recorded video or live video. When I'm working with clients, I'm working under the premise of live video first, and then we talk about recorded video later, because my feeling is that people don't have the time necessarily from the outset to be putting into learning how to edit their videos anymore. It's better to be going live and getting that message out there, and then looking at recorded video later. But nonetheless, this universal video script can work for both. But I'm going to talk about it through the lens of live, just because that's where I would recommend people start. So when you're starting your live stream and you're doing it for marketing purposes, using my philosophy of the ACE model, doing it in an authentic voice, valuable content, and exposing yourself to the world with that content or putting it out there, you want to engage them by grabbing their attention. We live in the attention economy. So that means that at the very beginning of the video, I'm not talking about 10 seconds or 20 seconds into that live stream, but right the very first thing that you say when you start the live stream. You can use either a startling statistic. A startling statistic could be something in your industry that you found on Google. Maybe you have access to some statistics in your industry through the work that you do, or maybe some type of periodical, or maybe you're just doing a Google search. Find a startling statistic in your industry. Another way to grab attention right from the beginning of that video would be to use a bold statement. Now, keep in mind, I would recommend that it still be short, but a bold statement is likely more related to your point of view, your belief system, something that, or it could be like, what would be an example? If I was doing a video and I wanted to use a bold statement, I might say something like, video is the way of the future, or video is not going anywhere. That might be an example. And then I could get into the next section. It could also be a question, a short, pithy question to grab that attention at the beginning of the video. Those are 3 ways that you can grab someone's attention and engage them into the video, because you only have a few seconds in which to do that. One of the mistakes that I see often, let me stop the share for a minute. One of the mistakes that I see all too often are people who start live streams And tell me if you've seen this before, where people start a live stream and they go, "Hey, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. We're just going to wait for a few more. Let's wait and see if we get some more people on." Oh, okay, let's see. Yeah, no, I don't see many people. Okay, we're just going to wait. Let's wait a little while longer and see if we get some more people on. You know what I'm saying? You've seen this. You've been on live streams like this, haven't you? Haven't you? They're painful. Don't be that person. If you're doing that today, stop it. The best thing that you can do is grab their attention right from the get-go. Okay? So let me share my screen again. We'll continue. I'm just looking at there we go. Okay. So grab their attention right from the get-go. And once you have engaged, now you have an opportunity, and I'll use my example that I was just using about the video. So I might start my live stream, literally pressing live, and go, "Video is no longer a nice to have." Hey, Sheryl here, excited to get into this conversation with you today. Today I'm going to teach you about blank, 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 blank. Right? So it's a way to just engage people in that conversation in just a few seconds. So the second part of that is you transitioning now into the education part. You see the alliteration: engage, educate, and I'll share the third one with you in a minute. But when you get and you transition into that education phase, you want to make it meaningful. You're going to put some meat on the bone here, right? You're going to teach, you're going to mentor, you're going to coach, you're going to share some insights that are pertinent to the theme of that video. So I like to say to teach within 1 to 3 salient points, meaning concise points, right? So choose 3 things. Now, when it comes to scripting, I'm not a proponent of scripting word for word. Like when I say scripting word for word, I'm talking about sitting at a computer and going, "Hello, my name is Sheryl, and today I am going to teach you blah, blah, blah." Because that happens a lot. People write these scripts and it takes them days. It takes them days to write the script. And then what they do is they take that written piece and they go, "Well, what do I do with it now? I guess I have to memorize it." And then they spend 3 more days memorizing it. And then we finally get to the part where they go, "Okay, well, now I'm going to maybe go live or record this video." And that takes another bunch of time because I would prefer that you just get accustomed to speaking about your topic, being eloquent and precise about your ideas and your thoughts and your point of view. That's the better way to do that. So you're going to teach, let's say, 1 to 3 salient points about that particular video topic. And you can use story within the video, right? The video should not be about you. The video story, if you're going to share a story, you want the story to be not about you, but it's through you. Let me explain. If I'm doing a video about how, a video is no longer a nice to have, let's just say that's the theory, that's the topic of the video. And I start the video off by saying that video is no longer nice to have. Sheryl Plouffe with you, video strategist. Today, we're going to talk about 3 things that are going to prove my point that video is no longer a nice to have. Once I get into the education phase and I'm going to teach maybe 3 points, and maybe these are case studies, maybe these are observations that I've seen in the world of other people, whatever that may be, I might want to tell a story that helps to make my point. But when I'm telling the story, I have to make it relate to the theme of the video and not necessarily just be about me. So maybe I'm telling a story about a client in order to make my point. So I could say, I was working with Sally and Sally did this, that, and the other thing, which proves my point that video is no longer nice to have. What I see sometimes people doing is they'll go out on video and they'll maybe, what would be a good example? They might tell a story about a trip to Italy, So they'll get on and they'll say, "Hey, everybody, I want to tell you about my trip to Italy." And my trip to Italy, and it was this and this and that, and I saw the vineyards, it was great. And okay, bye. See you next time. Right? This is the person who's sitting there going, and what does that mean to me? So always making sure that if you're telling stories, that it be through you. The story can be through you, but it's not about you. Don't make it about you. It has to relate back. Give away your best stuff in the education phase. You don't want to be holding back. This is often a problem for people who are very set on monetizing. They're like, oh, I want to monetize. I want to make money. Yeah, I get that. But the problem with that is if you hold all of your best stuff, you're not able to build that know, like, and trust factor with people. And in a video, you're only giving a small portion of something anyway. You're not giving away the whole farm. You're not giving away your whole proprietary method or your whole methodology or your formula. So don't be afraid to give away your best stuff at this stage, but you want to make it meaningful in the education phase of the video. And the third part is to enroll. It's just another, this is the alliteration, but it's just another way of saying call to action. What is the next step that you're giving them? So ask them for a follow. Ask them to maybe sign up for something. It could be your newsletter, or it could be, that you're giving something away for free. You have a funnel, maybe. Well, you could ask them to sign up for that, or subscribe to your YouTube channel, or whatever that is. You could ask for that next step. I would also suggest that you thank people for their time and remind them that you'll be back, especially if you are at a stage where you are doing this on a regular basis, which you should. I'm using YouTube mostly as an example today, but if you're producing that one video per week, as I would recommend that you do, then remind them that you do a video every week. So when you're giving them that next step, I think beyond just the immediate call to action, which is what is that thing that you want them to do now, but also think about thanking them and reminding them that you'll be back, because that's going to help them to maybe subscribe and want to see more of your content. So that's the universal video script. So Melissa, let's do another poll question if we could. And the next poll question is, do you think that video is a required skill set in business today? Do you think that video is a required skill set in business today? So we're going to do this poll, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. We have until the top of the hour, and I want to make sure I get to any and all of your questions. So start thinking about your questions as well. Do you think, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So 63, it's interesting. No one said no. 63% said yes, and 38% not sure. So there you go. Overwhelmingly, right? You all agree that it's either required or you're still on the fence about it. Not sure if it's required in business. But here's what I would say to that. I would say it's absolutely required in business. My feeling, and this is not just my feeling, but people who are like the CEO of Shopify there's a really great interview that he did with Gary Vaynerchuk, and they talk about how, and I totally agree with them. Businesses that do not integrate video to some degree will fail over the next decade, right? We're at that point now. And that's true of big corporations, medium-sized enterprises, and small businesses and solopreneurs, right? The question just becomes how. How do you, as a solopreneur, as a small business owner, get in the game? And when is the best time to get in that game? Yesterday. It really is. Even if you don't have your offers completely dialed in, the time to start building your audience was yesterday. So I hope that these theories, these ideas, these concepts were helpful for you today. I'd love for you to post in the chat what stood out for you today. What is something that you're going to take with you? What's a takeaway that you might have had from what I taught today? And then I want you to also commit to sending a video text message, which does not have to be complicated. You just open your phone, go to your favorite text messaging platform, and look to see, is there a video option? There probably is, and you've never noticed it. You've probably never noticed it. All right, so let me see here. question and answer. No open questions. Okay. My prospect sending a personalized tour of a suite they are interested in. Okay, cool. All right, Melissa, are you there? Are you able to come back on?
I am here.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I don't see your video yet, but I think I'd love to be able to spend the next 15 minutes answering questions. I know we have 10 people on the line, and I'll open it up now if I can to questions and just answer, because that I find that when I do talks, that's always the thing that people like, really like. They want some specialized, personalized, customized attention to their own individual questions.
Absolutely. If anyone does have questions, you can either put it in the chat, the Q&A box, or you can raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can ask your question.
And are we able to bring people onto the screen when they ask a question?
We aren't with this Zoom
with webinar.
webinar, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I typically do most of mine on the Zoom meeting because then you see everybody, but okay, that's cool. So I'm happy to answer questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Sheryl? Oh, there, one just came in the chat.
Okay, cool. So Christian, what about videos in multiple languages? Better to reproduce or simply translate? Oh, I think you just translate. Yeah, I think you just translate. There are options on YouTube for translation. I don't do a lot of that. I mean, I speak French, and I probably haven't done enough to take my existing videos and translate them into French. But yeah, you can do that. You can do that on YouTube. There are language options there. I actually am connected to a few people who specialize in translation. One is a company owner in the Netherlands, and another one in Vancouver. So if that's something that's interesting, of interest to you, Christian, you can send me an email at sherylplouffe@gmail.com, and I could even do an e-introduction for you to them if that would help. Yeah, but I think you're right. It's an opportunity. It's definitely an opportunity to translate your videos into multiple languages. I haven't done a lot of that yet. I think I have them in some of them in French and English. But it's interesting that, it's something that I will look into, because even with my video that just recently hit 1 million views, I should make sure that that's translated into another language. So yeah, that's a good point. Should all videos should have closed captions? Okay, thank you. Here's the thing. 83% of people watch a video initially with the sound off. And you can imagine that because we're a mobile world and most people are looking at their content on a mobile device, it's going by really, really quickly. And so if you're on, let's say, Facebook, for example, and I'm looking at content, I'm just like, scrolling through. It is important, I think. There's a difference, though, with how you produce that. There are captions that are auto-generated subtitles on the video, and then there are captions which are embedded and burned into the video. The ones that are edited into the project itself are typically there's more work and more complex to do. So for example, with in our virtual video production service that we offer, I interview someone for an hour on Zoom, but we create 12 videos out of that interview, and we do them in different formats. And we do all the closed captioning and embedding that actually on the project itself, so that it's not dependent on someone initiating or turning on the subtitles on and off, which you can do on YouTube. But yeah, I think that it's important to at least consider that. Maybe not every single video. I think it's more about the strategy and where that video is being played. There's just so much that goes into it, but I think it is a good idea. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I would love to know as well from our participants today, how is it that you want to use video? What is the is the opportunity that you see for yourself? Maybe that would be a better way to ask that question, to see if there's anything that I can share with you today. Introducing sister circles. I'm not sure I understand what that means. I don't know. Maybe, Penny, what do you mean by that? Introducing sister circles. So a circle group for women, a circle group for women. Okay. Is that a question? Christian says, for me, a complex or unknown product, I believe video will be a must. Yeah. So Christian, to your point about brand awareness, that's really what it is. Video is a great way to bring brand awareness to a product or a service. The thing I would caution you to think about too is that a video strategy is not just, and this isn't just to you, Christian, it's for everyone on the line, is not just about one video or even two or three. It is, in my opinion, it's really about thinking of it as a campaign, a commitment to your audience over the course of time. The video that I just had yesterday hit 1 million, took just under a year to hit 1 million. And I produced in 2020, I produced a video every single week for 52 weeks, to bring my channel from not monetized at 850 subscribers. And then by the end of 2020, it was over 15,000. But I did it because I was committed to the process every single week without any expectation that any videos would reach 1 million. I'd hoped, but virality is not within your control. It's within the market's control. So yes, the answer to that in short is it would bring, it's a great way to bring awareness over time to yourself, especially when you're building a personal brand. Then yeah, it's absolutely the way to go. When you're positioned as an authority, it brings awareness to who you are and what you believe and what you're all about. So Penny says that she wants to use videos to introduce sister circles, a circle group for women. Okay. Which is a program. I see. Okay. So it's like, Penny, is it like a coaching program for women? Maybe on some type of empowerment program for women? Is that what I'm understanding? Beth says, what would you recommend as the basics to create a professional image without a professional video team? So, again, Beth, I think that professional image is so case by case, because my definition of professional might be different than the next. But the thing I would impart to you is making sure that there is some type of brand strategy in place before we move into the marketing strategy. And I talk about this a lot on Clubhouse. For those of you on Clubhouse, find me there and follow me. But I would look at things like lighting. Right now I am using a ring light that's behind me because I have my window behind me. If I didn't have that ring light on me right now, it would be pretty shadowy and kind of dark. So if you go to my website at SherylPlouffe.com, which I'll put in here, if you go to SherylPlouffe.com, there is a tab called Resources I Recommend. And on Resources I Recommend, you'll see all the things that I use in my business and what I recommend. And there's an Amazon storefront there. And you can go there and you'll see all of the gear, the video gear and tools and tripods and microphones and ring lights and things that I use and recommend. So that might be helpful for you. But I think that, light is certainly something you want to look at. In our Cash In on Camera program, what we do is we often will guide people through some very fundamental things around positioning yourself within a screen. So for example, right now, the way that I'm sitting in this frame, I'm using, if we were to cut this into like a tic-tac-toe grid, meaning that we're dividing it into 3 going this way and 3 going this way. I want my eye line to be on the top imaginary line, the top third imaginary line, not like this, right? See, too much headroom. My eye line's in the halfway mark here, and not like this, which there is no headroom at all. And my eye line is way too high. So it's just little things like that. These are subtle differences, but they are the things that lead to that perception of professionalism that I think you're alluding to. Christian, especially to clients with a language barrier as well. Yeah, absolutely. So Christian, Beth, anyone who's asking these great questions, it's awesome. You can reach out to me and be happy to set up a time to discuss with you on a short call, or someone on my team could also help you. with specifics. So Penny says, yes, it is a coaching program. Okay, great. So yeah, so using video to promote a coaching program. Beth, what it's really going to be, or sorry, Penny, what it's really going to be about is, are you being positioned? Are you positioning yourself as an authority in that specific industry in order to gain that know, like, and trust factor for people to become engaged and become fans and followers, and then following through on your sales process to enroll them in your coaching program? The problem that I see a lot of times is people just they just go, oh, well, I'm going to go on social media. I think that's the thing to do. And I'm going to post these inspirational quotes every day and people will come. And it's not that at all. We see so many people who are on a social media hamster wheel, and they're like, well, I'm doing all the things. I'm posting my inspirational quotes and I'm creating them in Canva and I'm putting them on my page, but nothing's happening. Why? Because people aren't connecting. They're seeing it. Some of them are seeing it. Very few people see things that you post on your page anymore because Facebook is a pay to play platform. I think now it's only 2% or 6% of people even see your posts unless you pay them. And so those few people see it and they go, oh, cool. And then they move on. You haven't given them any reason to connect, right? They're inspired or they're maybe motivated, like, oh, that's an awesome quote, but that's it. So you've got to find better ways to express your ideas and really connect with them. Penny says, I have social media anxiety. You and millions of people, which is precisely why we created our Cash In on Camera program, right? It's exactly for that reason. I had never heard it put that way, social media anxiety. But I totally get that. You and millions of people. So reach out, be happy to give you some advice, and maybe there's some resources that we can send you to help you with that. Penny says, too much noise. Well, yes and no. This is just the reality of the world that we live in now, and things have changed. So you have a choice. It's within your purview to say, am I just going to sit back and go, oh, well, it's just too noisy of a world. I guess I'll just give up on my dreams, right? Or do you say to yourself, yeah, it's a noisy world. How do I rise above it? How can I be seen? How can I have a piece of the pie? Most of the people that I work with are mission-driven, purpose-driven people who know that they're meant on this planet to do the work that they're doing. Maybe that's you through your coaching. You know in your heart that you're meant to be doing this work. Okay. So you can't let the fact that, it's a noisy world be the thing that stops you. You've got to find a way to be like, carve your own path and say, I'm going to join the conversation. And if other people have done it, why can't I do it? Why not me? That's part of it. How do you manage that? That's what we have to dive into. That's why I call myself a video strategist, because everyone's strategy to do that is different. But what I will say, and I did hint and allude to it here, and I know we only have two more minutes, but is that I prefer that people start with live streaming. If you can get good at being able to speak about yourself and speak about your business confidently, then you will win if you do it consistently. And that might require having some systems in place to be able to make it efficient, because you still are running everything else in your business, but it's no longer a choice. Like, if you really want to grow and you really want to eventually scale and you've got to go to where the attention is. Right now, we're in a pandemic, we're in a lockdown, right? We can't even go, we can't even be in person. Even if we wanted to, we couldn't be in person with people. So what choice do you have? The only choice you have is to embrace what you do have available to you. So reach out. I'd be happy to help you with a strategy, Penny. You're so welcome. Oh, you're so welcome. Good. Oh, I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate you being here to monitor and bring up those polls.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, I'm not entirely surprised by those results, but I think it's indicative of the mindset and where people are at, that they definitely compare themselves to others and know that video is something that they need in their business. And obviously happy to have conversations, and anyone who is interested to do that can do so. I'll just put I think the best thing to do would be just to email me. Just send me an email at SherylPlouffe@gmail.com. And then we can set up a short call with me or someone on my team and give you some next steps of what that might look like, and really just build out a nice roadmap for you where to go, like what might be the best platform for you, and just give you some tips on how you can customize that to your goals.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.